we're just, as I said, we're just making this shit up as we go. So, hello everybody, Blue Dooley, and we're doing a very different kind of video today. We're going to be reviewing a 2022 Honda HR-V. I was actually supposed to have a Chevy Monte Carlo for a rental car, but they didn't have it, so they upgraded me to this, which is nice, because I really don't like cars. Not actually sure what a HR-V is exactly. Is it a crossover? Is it a tiny SUV? I don't actually know. We'll get you closer. As you can see, it's actually a very lovely shade of blue, which is just kind of handy. We are renting it from Enterprise, and their car wash people really kind of did a lousy job. But we're not here to review Enterprise's car washing ability. We're here to review this car, which I've had for a week. Put a couple hundred miles on it. Actually, several hundred miles on it. We went to Blackfoot today. Uh-oh, I'm going to get a shadow in my shot, sorry. It is HR-V, all-wheel drive, and I actually have to say it's a pretty nice car. I do have the seat set as low as it'll possibly go. My hat rubs the ceiling a little bit. And this isn't my heaviest winter coat, but the seat is a bit narrow for someone my size. I am 6'4", 270 pounds, so I'm not little by any stretch of the imagination. But the car, SUV, whatever it is, actually fairly comfortable. Currently says it is getting 27.3 miles to the gallon, so it does get far better fuel economy than our 2007 Jeep Liberty. Actually a lot more comfortable because my shoulder isn't up against the B-pillar, making me lean like this all the time. I can sit up straight in it. So that, in and of itself, makes the vehicle a hell of a lot more comfortable. The center console is right even with my knee. We'll get fancy interior shots later, as I'm kind of wasting time for a little bit before my next appointment. The car drives really nice though. The gauges are really easy to read. The range and fuel economy kind of dominate the right hand side of the screen. I'm not really a fan of just having a tach and a speedometer and of course the fuel gauge. Being a truck driver, I would like to know the oil pressure and engine coolant temps at all times. That's just something I've gotten so used to that not having that information is kind of a little buggy. I don't like that about the Jeep either, although at least it has a temperature gauge. I like having all the gauges. The touch screen, I've messed with it a little bit. It's straightforward and fairly easy for me to figure out how to use. The HVAC controls took a little longer than the radio, actually. But the windshield was frosted up pretty good this morning, and the defroster in this thing warms up pretty quick. I think probably 2 or 3 minutes it was already starting to clear the lower part of the windshield. The rear window defroster, the rear window isn't foggy up, but the driver's mirror was, and it cleared it off really quickly. All good things if you live in a northern climate and get snow and ice. The ride comfort so far, I have to say, is really nice. It is a little stiffer than the Jeep, and again, I'd imagine if you were an average sized person unlike me, the seat would probably be far more comfortable. It's not bad. I'm not going to say it's great, but I'm a big guy. I did play around with the stereo a little bit. The stereo sounds really good. You can get pretty good sound quality out of it, which is important if you're driving a lot of miles. The steering wheel is a bit busy for my taste. I actually kind of think the same thing of the steering wheel in the new Mac. There's just far too many buttons on it. Really, you only need cruise control. This one, of course, you can do all the audio from the steering wheel. You can do your Bluetooth, phone calls, your cruise control. It has paddles for the sports mode if you put it in it. But all the controls are labeled fairly well. Pretty easy to figure out what does what. Not sure of engine size. We'll have to look all that stuff up and put it in the video later. The heater works nice. The defroster, like I said, it came on, warmed up fairly quickly. At 27.3 miles to the gallon, though. Not too shabby. That's a hell of a lot better than the wife's Jeep. Since you got over, now we can get over. The mirrors are a little on the small side, but as with most of my critiques, you're going to have to keep in mind I don't generally drive small SUVs or crossovers or cars. My daily driver is a 1-ton truck, and I drive a Mack Granite at work. So some of that you'll just have to take with a grain of salt, and remember that I don't drive things like this normally. So we're at the Sonic Drive-In, because that's a reliable test. Is how easy is it to order through a drive-through or a drive-up. And being tall, my head still hits the pillar when I leaned out to hit the button. Mildly inconvenient, but that happens in a lot of vehicles. Of course, I don't have the radio on because I don't want to get copyright strikes. But it's not actually as quiet as I would have thought a Honda would be. There's a little bit of road noise. The steering on it's really nice, which probably is going to sound silly to most car enthusiasts, but to someone who drives basically giant trucks all the time, it's a lot quicker than a truck's. Okay. As you can see, the trip I reset today, we went 263 miles, averaging 28.9 miles to the gallon. The vehicle has 12,035 miles on it total, and the only thing I'm not really a fan of on the dash is it has a light that comes on to tell you the coolant temperature is cold, and then around the speedometer is a halo. Right now it's white because the vehicle's just idling, but when you're doing good on your fuel economy it turns green. But its color shifting's kind of distracting to me. I'm not really a fan. And the steering wheel is busy. But this has sport mode, and it has, oops, didn't mean to move you so fast. It has the flappy paddle gearbox shifters. Of course, you got your economy mode. You can turn your traction control off, collision avoidance, all that stuff. The hood latch and of course the fuel filler neck are down there. If you're short, it might be a problem to reach. It's not too bad for someone my size. This winter coat's not super heavy. The bolsters on the seats are nice. I'm kind of getting too big for the seat though. And I had to lower the seat as far as I could so my hat doesn't rub the roof. But legroom wise, it's not too bad. It's better than the... And 2 hours, I needed to get out and stretch. Just because, again, my height. My leg always rubs up against the center console. And of course, rubs up against the door jamb. Besides my size, again, it's pretty comfortable. Mom sat in the back today, and she said it was all right. She liked it a little better than her fit. The wife had no complaints about the passenger seat. Control works really well, and I put it in sport mode once and upshifted and downshifted with the gears. This only has 141 horsepower and it weighs 2,950 something pounds. So it's not going to be sporty. Kind of amusing, like maybe a go-kart, but you're not really going to be performance in this. The one big gripe I have is when you put on the right turn signal, the screen comes on. To me, it's a distraction. The mirror's just a glance over there. And it's okay right now in the daylight, but when it's dark out and there's vehicles behind you, the way the camera tries to do low light and see things, the screen just completely washes white when there's a vehicle behind you, and it's just completely useless at night. I'm not a fan. I wish you could turn that off. Again, the mirror's just right there. And I mean, it does give a little wider view closer to the vehicle. And Mom said she really likes it for when she parallel parks, because you can actually, there's a button that you can press and that'll bring it up too. I'm not a fan, especially with the turn signal. It seems to be a distraction to me. You can adjust the brightness on the screen, and I turned it down to about half. That helped a little bit, but still, on my commute to work, when you turn on that turn signal, any headlights behind you just turn into a white blob and wash out the screen. Really kind of distracting in my opinion. Other than that, the car does run really good. Yeah. Interesting that there's a fair bit of kind of tire road noise in a Honda. I would have expected it to be quieter. This is as I mentioned, a 2022. It's a rental, so it will have more miles on it than most cars. It already has 11,685 miles on it. But even being a rental, the interior is in still really good shape, and I'm sure we all know most people do not take great care of rental vehicles. Commenting on the interior, it feels nice. The cloth seats feel nice. The plastics don't feel cheap. The touchscreen doesn't feel cheap either. Steering feels nice. There's not a lot of body roll compared to the things I normally drive. Figured we'd come down through the campus, drive over some speed bumps. That's not actually why I came down this road, but we're just winging it. We're just going by the seat of the pants, as they say. Oops, forgot that was a speed bump there. Didn't hit my head, so that's nice. No squeaks or rattles. I will apologize for not remembering to speak louder when I was filming in the car by myself. So I apologize if you have to turn your headphones down now that I'm doing voiceover. This is a couple of clips going through Pocatello on our way to Blackfoot. It's about a 2-hour drive from where we got gas to the Potato Museum Mom wanted to go to. My wife and my mom both found the car to ride really nice, and both of them were comfortable. Mom was riding in the back seat, and she had no complaints about that. I was a little stiff by the time we got to the Potato Museum, but I'm big enough. I don't think this car is marketed to people my size. It drives really nice. We averaged 28 miles to the gallon by the time we got back to the house later this day. The car performed really well. I have no complaints. There's no rattles or poor build quality. Horsepower wise, I always think everything needs more horsepower. However, if you're not into spirited driving, or you don't do maybe like a lot of 2-lane highway, I don't think the car has a lot of power to really get up and pass if there's not a lot of room to pass. But steering, brakes, throttle response, all really good. The build quality of the car is nice. I would actually probably recommend it. Mom was thinking by the time we got back to the house that she really wished she had bought the HR-V instead of the Fit. It's a little bit bigger, a little roomier, and just a little more convenient when you do want to go someplace with more than one other person. The Fit doesn't really have the back seat room as this does, and as I mentioned, neither one of them had any complaints about the ride quality or the seats being too stiff or too soft. It is a really nice car, and the week I had it, I've kind of enjoyed it. I'm going to return it Tuesday, so this was just kind of a little fun spoof video, and I apologize again for not speaking louder in the earlier portions of the video. If you are looking for a small kind of crossover car, I'd recommend actually checking it out. It's about the right size for a couple or someone with some kids. Not big kids, but it's a really good size, and I think with fuel economy it gets, it'll be handy for getting around town because it does get really good fuel economy going back and forth to work. So hope you enjoyed this fun little spoof video, and we will catch you in the next one.